Right. I hate this American accent, but anyhow,
Την American company.
could I welcome everybody? And I'm very pleased that so many people have managed to attend, both from the UK and those who are in Greece. Really, really, it's a very sad occasion, but I'm really pleased that so many people have managed to make it. Because I think, in a sense, this kind of commemoration is a very sad one, especially when someone like who's been so cherished by us all has died so tragically young. But I think it's a means of remembering them collectively and of supporting each other, those of us who are here, of supporting each other in that memory and in the way that we cherish that person and take that person forward. And I've got some suggestions to make at the end of how we may take forward our memory of somebody who, as I said, has been so loved by, by many of us. So what I'd like to do first is that we, each of the people who have said that they would like to say something, that we begin to offer our memories, our thoughts about Dora's, what she meant to us and her life. And we can start off. I think I was suggesting that I start off because I'm going to be starting off the whole session. Then we go on, and just to explain to everybody, I was Dora's second supervisor, but I'm still at Middlesex University. The Director of Studies, Louise Ryan, who is no longer at Middlesex, but is now at Metropolitan, will follow. Can I say for our Greek colleagues that the Greek speakers will also do a summary at the end of what they're saying? Not me, but maybe somebody can write something in chat. Okay? Katrina's asking if you can mute yourself, because otherwise we'll hear. Okay? So then we will go on to Georgos, Dora's partner. And
Παπαδάκη, ποια είναι, Γιώργο, δικός είναι?
And then, so this is the. And then.
Sorry, Eleanor, let me just explain. Κύριε Παπαδόπουλε, σας ακούμε πλέον, είσαστε σαν ακρόαση. Αν θέλετε να βάλετε στο σιωπηλό και μετά να ξαναμπείτε σε ανοιχτή ακρόαση. Ναι, κανένα πρόβλημα. Επειδή υπάρχει παρεμβολή, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Όταν θέλετε να πάρετε το λόγο, μας ενημερώνετε. Thank you, Eleanor.
Okay, so then the order would be Yorgos, Dora's partner, Dora's brother, then I think Anastasia, Beata, Brad, I forgot to put in the earlier one, but I think it goes in.
Όχι, κάνουμε μια συζήτηση. Τώρα είναι αυτό, είναι και ο κύριος Θόδωρος εδώ.
Panos and Yorgos Timouris, right? So we have roughly that. If you forget the order, it doesn't matter too much. But
φαίνεσαι κι εσύ.
Could you please mute your...
Eleanor, you can do it centrally.
Okay, but I'm reading my stuff, so I'm covering, it's a bit difficult for me. I'll try and do it when I'm finished, then I can do it centrally. Okay, so I just wanted to say again is that on behalf of the Social Policy Research Centre, which Dora was a very active member, I'd like to welcome everyone. And as I say, we'll have a set of speakers, and hopefully for some of the from the English presentations by my Greek colleagues, they will do a short summary. So I wanted to really start off with saying that Dora was so reflective about her thesis. It's often, we choose a thesis which we're interested in, obviously, in the topic, and it has to keep us going for several years. But for Dora, it was really a lot more than that. It was a subject which took her on a journey of self-discovery, and I think a greater awareness of the Greek society in which she lived, especially in Western Thrace, an area that is close to the to the Turkish border, and which has a lot of the minority population in Greece. Now, when Dora started her thesis with us in 2011, she had the clear idea that it was going to be about conversions. And she insisted that it was going to be about conversions. But by the time that she submitted this thesis at the end of 2015, and at the end of 40 amazing interviews, which took us so much work with a whole set of couples in mixed religious relationships, it had become much more complex, and it really was a journey of discovery. Now, the thesis itself highlighted the negotiation of everyday lives and the dynamic identities and aspirations of mixed couples, that is, Christians and Muslims of different kinds. It highlighted their cultural and family practices and how these mixed couples had been integrated in very different ways within Greek society, especially as she saw it under the current socioeconomic conditions, that is, of the economic crisis in Greece and the increase of racism and xenophobia. And as she noted, it was to be the first empirical study of its kind in Greece. And she referred to Panos's work a lot in this regard, and also to Beata's work in terms of how do we understand mixed relationships. However, I don't want to outline the findings of the thesis, which she obtained, a brilliant thesis, I may say, in 2016, but to focus on what the pursuit of it meant for Dora. So as she commented, and this is on page 72 of the thesis, which I've given you the link in the repository if you want to look at it. But on page 72, she commented, and I want to use her words: "My life has been full with multiple identifications and multiple ethnic, cultural, and spiritual border crossings. I think this is the reason why at the initial stage of my research, I was fascinated with the phenomenon of religious conversion. And I admired converts as people who dared to cross religious borders. The process of confronting my feelings of anger uncovered, opened up, and stirred my intellectual fascination towards the Muslim minority populations, I should say. Institutional conversion may be very obvious, overt, visible, highly publicized, and often promoted for political purposes. However, all these Muslim populations represented by my participants deal with multiple identifications and subtle, covert, perplexed, symbolic identifications that take a long time of knowledge, of intellectual effort, and courage to acknowledge, to admit, to recognize, and to bring into this light." And then she went on to say that I wish to acknowledge the contribution of my supervisors, who persistently urged me to explore mixtures and mixedness, and not only conversions, and take a much longer but so much more rewarding intellectual journey. And then she went on to say, in relation to a trip that she made to Istanbul in the winter of 2003, when she went there on a bus, it led me to academic realizations as I experienced that my research was made of flesh and blood. I was repositioning myself from a social researcher to a fascinated and enchanted subject under research. And I appreciated all the explorations, the discoveries, and the birth of new intellectual space. And again, she mentions her family and her academic colleagues as well, who shared part of my experiences with me and supported me dearly. So what I really want to come away from, what I think the thesis and being one of her supervisors has left me with, is the way that the thesis can itself become a voyage of self-discovery, of societal discovery. And I think this is so much, it goes beyond just the empirical findings that you come out of in the research. You come out at the end of it with something that changes yourself. And I think this was really so tremendously strong with Dora's journey, you could say, of crossing borders, as she put it. Now, after she finished her thesis, Dora returned to Greece, but that didn't mean that we stopped having any connections with her, because the excellence of her work and the probing of her interviews and the contemplative nature of her research led us to ask her for assistance with a number of projects that Brad, Alessio, and myself had in relation, which involved Greece. Now, we did that, asked her to help us again with the EBIMED project, which was about the Mediterranean crossings, both to Greece and to Italy. And of course, in the Greek case, largely with Syrians, Iraqis, Iranians, Pakistanis, and so on. So she helped us there also, particularly with interviews with NGOs. And I again called upon Dora to undertake interviews with Syrian asylum seekers on the Responsible Deal project, which is being coordinated by London School of Economics, and where again we were looking at what were the projects, what were the future ambitions projects of Syrian asylum seekers in Greece. And again, Dora did some wonderful interviews here. And the last time that I saw Dora, in fact, was when she came to the UK, and we went to a conference at Essex University with Alessio and another colleague of ours from the EBIMED project to present the ethics of the research program. And again, the things that she had to say about her experience of doing the research was extremely thoughtful. So it was a real contribution. And as I say, this is the last time that I saw Dora, and it's really a very cherished memory with me, because we managed to spend a bit of time both traveling to the conference, and she had stayed with me the night before, and indeed Anastasia had been here as well. So I don't want to spend any longer, because I know there are a lot of other people who would like to also make a contribution to what Dora meant to them and their memory of Dora. And I'll pass the baton on to Louise Ryan, who was her Director of Studies at Middlesex University, but is now, as I said before, at London Met. So Louise, it's over to you.
Thanks very much, Eleanor. Hello, everybody. And thank you, Eleanor, for organising this event. Yeah, we supervised Dora. We worked very closely with Dora in her PhD, and it was actually a wonderful experience. It was the kind of PhD experience that we all cherish and hope for. In some ways, I'm glad Dora was not the first PhD student that I supervised, because she was so easy to work with that it maybe would have given me a false expectation about how easy it was to do PhD supervision. It was really a joy, and I don't think we ever had a crossword, a disagreement. Every supervision we had, it really felt like this incredibly positive, thought-provoking, really engaged experience for me, for Eleanor, and for Dora. And Eleanor has brilliantly summarized there the way that Dora went on this kind of voyage of discovery, but I think she kind of took us on that voyage with her as well, and it really was a very pleasurable experience. But I'm not going to say very much more about the PhD, because I also had the experience of working with Dora on another project. So when she was still at Middlesex at the Social Policy Research Centre, we worked together on the Emmaus project. And for those of you who don't know the Social Policy Research Centre, it's a research centre that often is engaged in multiple projects simultaneously, some big international projects, but also some small local commissioned research. The Emmaus project was one of those small commissioned projects by a charity. Emmaus is a homeless charity, and Dora worked with me very closely on that project. And it was, in some ways, it was great fun as well, because I got to spend quite a lot of time with her. We did a lot of the field work together. And so it wasn't like the supervisor-supervisee relationship. We were colleagues going off and doing this research on the homeless charity Emmaus, which took us pretty much all over the country. Actually, I remember we were going up to Manchester, and we also went to Cambridge because Emmaus is based in Cambridge. And I just wanted to share with you a memory I have of going literally into the field to do research with Dora for the Emmaus project. And so we were going to Emmaus to do some key informant interviews with some of the kind of big wigs who had set up Emmaus. And we got the train to Cambridge, and then we needed to get to Emmaus, and we realized that it was actually out in the middle of nowhere. It was out in the countryside in the fens of Cambridgeshire. So we kind of had this thought, should we get a taxi? And those of you who do these research projects on a shoestring budget will know that dilemma, should we get a taxi? And we said no, this was charity money. We were not going to get a taxi, we were going to take the train. So we got the train, and the station was called Waterbeach. I don't know if anybody here has ever been to Waterbeach. It's nowhere near water and there's no beach. So I don't know why it's called Waterbeach, but anyway, it's this station. So we got off the station at the station, and then we stood on the platform, and the train passed by. And I swear to God, it was like a scene out of one of those Hollywood movies. The train passed out, and we were standing on the platform. We were the only two people on the platform, and all we could see around us were fields. We were literally in the field. And we social researchers talk a lot about being in the field, but we were bloody in a field in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing around, and we were completely stuck in this place in the middle of nowhere. So this was in the day before Uber, I should highlight, so we couldn't exactly get on the phone and call an Uber cab. So we decided, Dora was just so calm and laid back about the whole thing. So we just decided we'd start walking, and eventually, surely we'd come to a shop, or we'd come to somewhere, a cafe, a pub. So eventually we came to a shop, and we asked them if they could give us the number of a local taxi firm. So we got the number and we rang it, and the taxi driver informed us that he was in Cambridge and that he would have to come out from Cambridge to collect us and drive us to Emmaus. And because of that, he would have to charge us the full price from Cambridge. So Dora and myself, we just stood there and laughed because there was nothing else we could do. We had been so stupid to save the price of the taxi from Cambridge that we'd spent money on the train, and then we had to get the taxi to Emmaus anyway and pay the price from Cambridge. But it was just one of those funny experiences, and Dora was such a lovely person to be in that experience with, and the two of us just laughed and laughed. It's all we could do. And I just am so happy that I have those kind of happy memories with Dora. And I also want to share this, which is a beautiful piece of lace work that Dora gave me that I believe was made by her grandmother. I'm sorry I've upset her parents, but I just wanted to say this is so precious to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise. The next person on the list is Yorgos. Would you like to?
Hello everyone. Κλείστε τον ήχο λίγο από εκεί. Okay, can anybody hears me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Yes, yes.
Okay. I was honored to have met Dora some years ago, and our meeting became an intimate relationship, the most intimate of all kinds, actually. So I have prepared a piece of writing to read.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too long. I hope I won't tire anyone. In his poem, A Dream Within a Dream, Edgar Allan Poe pictures himself amid a self-tormented soul, trying to save a few grains of golden sand in his hand from the roaring waves. The sea is his inner world, and the grains of sand are the memories of his beloved, who perished untimely, as untimely and unexpectedly Dora Papadopoulou perished in the island of Milos, after a few dreamy days by the sea she always loved so. I could speak forever about Dora, about every small detail, as the fine lines at the tip of her eyes, the graceful way her lips revealed her teeth when she smiled, and her laughter pouring like a little cascade. About her kindness, her courtesy, and her bliss. Of her deep thinking and her genuine interest for other people's well-being, regardless if she was connected with them or not. But it's neither the time nor the place for that. Dora's motto was Si vis amari, ama, a Latin phrase meaning if you want to be loved, love. And most of anything else, Dora loved life itself and lived it as intensely as a life could be lived, always eager to find what lies beyond the horizon. As her wonderful parents told me, Dora wanted to travel and grasp the world. Her favorite fairy tale was about a family that decided to live their dull, predetermined life and travel far away. That was the pathway Dora took in her life. She once described herself as a helpless dreamer, but unlike most of her kind, she had the courage and the capacity to make her dreams come true through conscientious planning and laborious work. Many of her friends, I recognize some honoring her with their presence today, gave her the nickname Dora the Explorer, and an explorer she was. If times were different, I could easily imagine her as a member of an expeditionary mission to the poles or into pristine forests. But since times have changed, Dora traveled her expeditionary nature towards the fields of knowledge. She achieved that with her hard work and a sparkling mind that allowed her to accomplish whatever she put in it. Always an excellent student, she entered the Faculty of Politics, Diplomacy and International Relations, Macedonian University of Thessaloniki. As a pre-graduate, she practiced at the UNESCO headquarters in Greece, and she visited Portugal as an Erasmus student. She furthered her academic pursuit by fulfilling her master's thesis, Inventing Intercultural Dialogue, Cultural Policy of UNESCO, 2006-2007, at the School of International Relations, College University of Dublin. She followed her personal pursuits for happiness in Romania, where she worked at the field of EU program funding and at the Eastern European branch of Hewlett-Packard. She has even been the secretary of a minister for a few days in one of the short-lived government formations of the country back then, as she told me laughing one day. But it has always been Dora's dream to write up a dissertation thesis, and she followed her dreams once more. She went back to Greece, and after inquiry, she decided to uptake a PhD at the Social Policy Research Centre, Law School, Middlesex University of London. During her studies, she was granted a European Social Fund and a Greek National Fund scholarship. She worked as a researcher in numerous research projects and taught university courses, while at the same time she presented her work in an impressive number of symposiums, workshops, and conferences in Great Britain, Belgium, France, Ireland, and Greece. After she completed her dissertation, titled Negotiated Religious Differences in Mixed Marriage Couples in Greece, she decided to return to her hometown, following her personal dreams once more. There, she created from scratch Arsis Transit, an accommodation center for unaccompanied minors looking to reunite with their families through the Dublin Treaty family reunification process, and kept working as its coordinator for 2.5 years. Simultaneously, she was involved in various research projects with the Center for Democracy and Reconciliation in Southern Europe, and with SPRC, which hosts today's event. Which hosts today's event. That was about the time I met Dora, when she first visited the regional asylum office of Thrace, where I worked, accompanying an extremely vulnerable applicant that would trust only her to speak. We kept an excellent professional collaboration for years. Since we shared common research interests up to a degree, at some point, we worked together for a publication in a peer-reviewed journal regarding the Greek refugee crisis. That publication was left unfinished due to our extremely demanding workload at the time. Let me note that Dora always regretted that she hadn't many publications as she wished, because her various and demanding professional activities deemed it impossible. About 2 years ago, Dora was hired at the Asylum Service as a caseworker, a highly responsible and demanding job that requires long personal interviews and delivering a great volume of multi-page decisions on a weekly basis. At this post, she unfolded her exceptional skills once more. Not only she surprised her colleagues with her capacities, but she left me stunned one day, telling me that she liked her new job because it was laid back. Soon she was promoted to the dual role of caseworkers coordinator and quality focal point. In her new position, she was remarkable in the way she kept extremely puzzling procedures running neatly, and in the same time she intervened countless times to the rescue of applicants, her colleagues, and even myself in burdensome situations. Simultaneously, she managed to write and edit an article ready for publication in a peer-reviewed article. She was trained as a national trainer in modules relevant to international protection status by the European Asylum Office in Malta, and she participated in 2 research projects as an interviewer and a researcher, one with LSE and one with SPRC. Would you excuse me for a moment because I lost my text? Thank you so much. All these accomplishments outline the image of a highly inspired, motivated, sharp, and capable person. But Dora was so many things other than that. Everything in her, from her appearance to her temperament, reflected the unique beauty of her wonderful soul. Her reserved politeness to strangers might have made her seem some way aloof, even snobby sometimes, but once one got to know her better, then her genuinely gentle, loving, and caring heart unfolded generously. Dora had a unique taste in all the aspects of her life. She loved literature, music, and arts. She cherished reading, listening to good music, and going to theaters, concerts, and museums. She was an athlete and enjoyed running, biking, and swimming, as she loved nature, the sea most of all. She loved traveling and establishing intimate connections with people coming from different cultures all over the world. She traveled to Egypt, Greece, Turkey, Romania, Belgium, Italy, United States, Portugal, Spain, Czechia, Austria, France, Ireland, Scotland, and England. She was politically involved, always expressing her humanitarian and progressive aspects on society and human life. Her academic interests in cross-cultural encounters and people getting along together through mutual understanding and affective relationships reflect the very essence of her most profound sentiments. In essence, Dora has always been a dreamer and an explorer, one of the kind that turn their dreams into exploration drafts, and set sails. Her latest plans included visiting Southeastern Asia, moving to Athens, publishing her work, starting a postdoc, and having children in a loving family. I feel grateful to her that she included me to her plans, as our initial regard gradually grew into deeper feelings. But destiny unfolded in a different way, leaving her carefully planned explorations unfulfilled. Nowadays, for solace, I like to think of her being in another time place, exploring horizons of an imaginary beauty, resembling her inner self. On behalf of her family, I would like to...
Είμαι από Θεσσαλονίκη. Μπήκα και δεν έχω ήχο, δεν ακούω τίποτα.
Katerina,
Μπορείς τίποτα? Δεν ξέρω αν πρέπει τίποτα, δεν βλέπω το...
It's a relative that is not used to...
Okay, could you ask the person to mute, please? Because otherwise we can't, yeah.
Eleanor, you can...
Κυρία Κατερίνα, είμαστε στη μέση της παρουσίασης. Παρακαλώ μην μιλάτε γιατί...
Γιώργος Κωστακιώτης.
Ναι, είμαι ο σύντροφος της Δώρας. Είμαι εδώ, κυρία Δέσποινα.
Δεν ξέρω τι να κάνω, δεν ακούω τίποτα.
Μην μιλάτε προς το παρόν και θα το λύσουμε.
Και τους... Τι λέει?
Γιατί είναι στη μέση της
σε ακούμε. Από την Μαρία Χατζιαθανασίου. Μου έγραψε. Τους είπα και μου απάντησαν ότι εμείς
Δέσποινα, να του πω, Δέσποινα να το κλείσουν.
Πάρτε την τηλέφωνο να κλείσει.
Ωραία, ευχαριστώ πολύ την κυρία Κατερίνα, η οποία...
If you finish, I think that we'll sort it out.
Okay, yes. Κύριε Θόδωρε, ακούω αντίλαλο, αν μπορείτε λίγο να... Okay. I'm finishing, actually.
Θερμή παράκληση στην κυρία Μαρία, στην κυρία Τζίμη, αν μπορείτε να κλείσετε το μικρόφωνο.
Anastasia, apparently Chris is suggesting I make you co-host. I don't know how to do that. But I think if Yorgos can finish us, we'll sort it out then when he finishes.
Yes, I just have a few more sentences.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
I would like to express her family's and my deepest gratitude to your institution and to all of you personally for organizing this commemoration event in your honor. Συγγνώμη, όσοι με ακούνε, ας κλείσουν το μικρόφωνο, παρακαλώ. Ευχαριστώ.
I've just muted.
Thank you. These things happen. People are not very used in using...
No, don't worry, just go on, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Okay. On behalf of her family, I would like, and mine, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to this institution and to all of you for organizing this commemoration event in her honor. For being with us today and for sharing their own precious grains of sand with us. Those who love her will keep them inside us as a glowing star showing the way in darkness. As a final word, if I'm allowed a wish, that would be that we would meet again sometime at a better place. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Yorgos, for this very beautiful and moving testimony. So it's wonderful for us to share that, and thank you very, very much. So I think the next...
ξαναμπήκα, αλλά πάλι το ίδιο.
I thought I had... Right, so the next person who will be speaking is Anastasia. So if you would like to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Eleanor. I'm very moved. Thank you very much, Yorgos, for the beautiful reflection and thoughts. I will first share my feelings and memories of Dora in English, and then I will have a Greek version as well. It is with profound emptiness that I reflect on the tragic passing of our friend and colleague, Dr. Dora Papadopoulou. The void from Dora's departure is one of immense sadness, draining dismay, and overwhelming distress. And while this inexplicable injustice is so pronounced, I would like to redirect the heavy emotion to a reflective account of the brief but richly meaningful encounters I had with Dora. Dora was the epitome of humility in never being loud about her accomplishments, agile during periods of increasing demand, conscientious and diligent with all her responsibilities. She was also fun to have lengthy discussions with, and I will never forget the last one we engaged in during her last visit to London slightly over a year ago in November 2019. At Middlesex University, we were briefly colleagues when Dora taught a seminar for a first-year sociology undergraduate module I was convening at the time in 2015, entitled Understanding Contemporary Society Issues and Debates. And subsequently, as the internal examiner for her PhD thesis, I had the pleasure to read Dora's work and the privilege to engage in a scholarly conversation with her during her viva in the spring of 2016. It goes without saying that if you have not read Dora's doctoral thesis yet, once you start reading it, you will not be able to put it down. Beyond the gripping flair of her writing, the precision of her arguments, and her piercing analysis of literature and empirical data, you will be treated to a journey of discovery, abundant of care and compassion. Along with these captivating levels of scholarship, it is this meaningful encounter one has as a reader with a writer and a researcher who really cares about her work and her participants that makes the work so compelling. Dearest Dora, as we gather here today, still reeling from your departure, we are shocked and angered at the unfairness and senselessness of your absence. We seek to make sense of this, to understand the reason why this happened. What possible meaning can be gleaned from this? As an academic community, we express our sadness, we acknowledge our loss, acknowledge the great importance of your life, Dora, and the void to us all that your passing brings. It is true that there is much devastation here today, but all of the journeys that you took away from here and back home again will live on in all of our memories, enriching, guiding, and adding to our lives as teachers, scholars, and friends. We will always remember you. Αγαπητοί φίλοι και συναδέλφισσα Δώρα, είμαστε όλοι εδώ για να σε χαιρετήσουμε. Με βαθύτατη θλίψη, το Πανεπιστήμιο του Middlesex, η νομική σχολή, το τμήμα εγκληματολογίας και κοινωνιολογίας, το ερευνητικό μας κέντρο κοινωνικής πολιτικής και σύσσωμη ακαδημαϊκή κοινότητα σε αποχαιρετούν με απέραντη εκτίμηση. Η ακαδημαϊκή χρονιά έκλεισε με μια ακόμα θλιβερή είδηση και σήμερα έχουμε το θλιβερό προνόμιο να αποχαιρετήσουμε την αγαπημένη μας φίλη και συνάδελφο. Η Δώρα, με τη σεμνή αλλά στρεφτερή της παρουσία, ήταν προσωπικότητα που ξεχωρίζει, πρωτοπορεί, και αριστεύει. Με τη Δώρα είχα την τύχη να συνεργαστώ σε 2 επίπεδα. Ως διδάσκουσα σε ένα προπτυχιακό μου μάθημα κοινωνιολογίας και κατόπιν ως εξετάστρια του διδακτορικού της. Στοχοπροσιλωμένη, μεθοδική, παθιασμένη, την επιστήμη και την κοινωνική της συνεισφορά, διαλεκτική, εργάστηκε άοκνα, εργάστηκε ενάντια στο ρεύμα και πρωτοπόρησε με τη μέγιστη συνεισφορά του επιστημονικού και ερευνητικού της έργου. Δώρα, είχα την τύχη να συζητήσω για τελευταία φορά μαζί σου πριν από περίπου 1 έτος. Η ολοκλήρωση και η ευτυχία που βίωνες ήταν αποτυπωμένη στην ηρεμία που αντανακλούσες, στον τρόπο της λειτουργίας, έτσι πως λειτουργούσες, που ζούσες, που εργαζόσουν. Γιατί το προϊόν της δουλειάς σου ήταν προϊόν αγάπης, ήταν πολύτιμο και σπουδαίο, με όραμα και πνεύμα κοινωνικής δράσης. Σε όλους τους οργανισμούς υπάρχουν ελάχιστοι άνθρωποι που κοιτάζουν μπροστά, προχωρούν χωρίς δισταγμούς, ανοίγουν δρόμους και καθοδηγούν ολόκληρες γενιές. Ανήκεις, Δώρα, σε αυτή την εκλεκτή και ξεχωριστή κατηγορία ανθρώπων, με την αξιοπρέπεια και την απαράμιλη αρετή. Φεύγεις αφήνοντας πίσω σου ένα δυσαναπλήρωτο κενό, αλλά και ανθρώπους που θα σ' αγαπάνε, θα σε τιμούν και θα σε θυμούνται για πάντα. Θα μας λείψεις, Δώρα. Θα μας λείψει η ξεχωριστή σου διάθεση και ευγένεια. Θα μας λείψουν όλα εκείνα που συνθέτουν και σφυριλατούν τη συναδελφική φιλία που προσέφερες τόσο γενναιόδωρα. Για το ήθος, το χαρακτήρα, τη στάση ζωής σου, την πραότητα και την αγάπη σου για τη γνώση και τη διάδοσή της, για τις στιγμές και τις αναμνήσεις, Δώρα, η οικογένειά σου αλλά και το πανεπιστήμιό σου είναι περήφανοι. Είμαστε όλοι εδώ για να σου απευθύνουμε το ίστατο χέρι και ένα ειλικρινές ευχαριστώ από τα βάθη της καρδιάς μας για όσα μας πρόσφερες, για όσα μας δίδαξες και για όσα μας ενέπνευσες. Σήμερα το Πανεπιστήμιο, η κοινότητά σου σε χαιρετά με απαράμιλο σεβασμό. Πολύ αγαπημένη μας Δώρα, θα ζει στις καρδιές και τη σκέψη μας πάντα με αγάπη και εκτίμηση. Καλό σου ταξίδι, φίλοι μας, καλή και αγαπημένη. Thank you.
Many thanks to you, Anastasia, for your eloquence, and many thanks for translating it for everyone, or for those, for some into Greek. I think it really helps. So I think the next person was going to be Beata.
Yes, it's me. So,
yep, if you like.
Hello to everybody. So, thank you first for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here today. The news about Dora's passing sounds incredible for me. She left us too early, but in these difficult times, we are every day confronted. What is one of the most crucial questions, our life and health. We never know when our time will come. I met Dora first in Paris during a conference. An Unterreiner, a colleague, and we organized a conference on conjugal and family mixedness in Europe and behind in November 2015 at the Sorbonne. She seemed very friendly and a bit shy to me, but very interested in all discussions and exchanges on mixedness. It was a great international event with more than 50 researchers working on these questions all over the world. Unfortunately, the Bataclan terrorist attack stopped us continuing on Saturday morning, but mercifully nobody was involved in the attack or was concerned by the attack. So when Eleanor asked me to be one of the supervisors of her thesis in 2016, I was happy and accepted easily. It was nice to have the opportunity to stay some days in London, but evidently, more than that, I had the chance to read and discuss a very novel and authentic thesis on Christian-Muslim couples in Greece. This issue is obviously not a simple subject. It links intimate life stories with national and international history and migration, and shows us how intertwined private and public spheres are. We are used to read a lot of studies in Western European countries about migrants coming to France, Germany, or UK and establish families over there. Other studies may explore Greeks and German couples living in Athens or Thessaloniki. But Dora had the courage to introduce us to a much more interesting point of migration reality in Greece. Members of Muslim minorities from Turkey or a lot of other countries who live with a Greek partner. And so I discovered that the Greek migration reality is particular, linked to its geographic position and historical status, but nevertheless, Dora analyzed mechanisms that we can find in all kinds of mixed relationships all over the world. I learned a lot about Greece and about Muslims in Greece and about the specific border to Turkey. And I was so pleased that she gave a large place to my own work. In her thesis, she established a theoretical discussion with me about transgressing non-written social and religious norms and gave me a lot of empirical arguments, making my own thinking stronger. Especially the centrality of the interreligious feature. Crossing cultural and national borders is a challenge and not easy, neither in the past and in current times. But crossing religious borders is not only an outside challenge, but also, or even more, an inner challenge. This questions more than national identity or the citizenship or cultural identity, what you are personally. People doing this journey have a hard work and need to be strong to manage it. Dora stepped in this dimension because she has a strong personality and she was able to capture the special inner dimension of religion. If you read her thesis, you will easily realize that Dora, the author, is a very sensitive person involved with others. The interviews were conducted with empathy and kindliness. People easily speak to her, even about very intimate subjects. Mixed marriage is not an easy family issue. Difficulties and deception are also around. Difficult decisions have to be taken. Finding compromise between your own family and the partner over the husband's or the wife's family. Since I had read her work, I had several occasions to cite her results, especially in an article on first name choices for children of mixed couples, where she gave a lot of examples in her thesis. But I also had the opportunity to cite her in my habilitation because her work, her thesis, her empirical works gives me so much inspiration for my theoretical thinkings. I knew that she established back in Greece. I am happy to hear all the nice words and events you were able to collect on her nice personality. As a friend told me several years ago, when her 20-year-old nephew died in an accident. He passed away too early, but he accomplished so many things. He gave so much to others, more than other humans will ever give. Dora's legacy is immense. I'm really graced to have known her. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Beata, for your words. You know, as someone who knows her work, and I'm so pleased that you found it useful. So thank you very, very much. I'm wondering whether Brad maybe wants to go next before Dora's brother.
Sure, thank you. It's very difficult to follow all those touching words. I only came to know Dora really towards the end of her studies. I got to know her much better when she worked with me and with our colleagues on 2 projects. What I would say, though, is that from the very first meeting, I was struck by her charm, her soft-spoken but thoughtful manner, and her humor. And Eleanor is the one who alerted me, first of all, to Dora's work, this groundbreaking investigation, which we've heard. And I should say that this was a region, or the setting for her research was a region which I knew of only in history, as someone who's focused quite a lot on the Balkans and on conflict. And while I knew that it was home to many religious, ethnic, and linguistic groups from Greeks, Turks, and Bulgarians, as well as Slavic Muslims, Pomaks, Jews, my wife singing the music of Jews from this region, in fact, Armenians and Roma. It was actually a region which I tended to think of, if I ever did really, in historical terms. I didn't think of it as a place of dynamic and intermarriage and these cross-cutting cultures, which really underline the nature of the investigation which Dora pioneered. And her thesis was exemplary. I was really delighted to participate in her graduation. Shortly afterwards, we needed some support for some work we were conducting in the Mediterranean, the EviMed project, which Eleanor mentioned. And Eleanor suggested we turn to Dora. Now, by that time, she was managing a center for unaccompanied asylum-seeking youth. She was working to restore families. She was working on one research project, assisting with another. One minute she was engaged in academic research, the next minute she was sorting out all sorts of practical and very demanding issues. And yet she managed it all. And she did so, she was quietly efficient. It all happened, it all moved forward, and people's lives actually did get better. It was truly quite remarkable. Dora took Eleanor and myself to a restaurant in a hidden courtyard. And while we were talking about really the substance of politics in Greece, the refugee crisis, the bureaucracy, how we were trying to work through it, what I also remember from that conversation was talking about peppers, olives, herbs, and fragrance. And that was really all around us. It was really a lovely, truly romantic evening that we spent together. And then later when we met in Thessaloniki, she told us about how she juggled all of her responsibilities, how she would bike these great distances. I don't know if she was going towards or away from the border. She was in phenomenal shape. And that also put me to shame, probably because I was at my fattest at that point. And I only talked about exercise, I didn't do any. And she really put us all to shame with her level of energy and her vitality. But I have followed some of her examples since then. I turned to Dora to assist on a project, another project, where we were looking at legal and procedural approaches to asylum, and it was a comparative project. We were very fortunate that we were able to extend it and include Greece among the 7 countries. And again, with little notice, Dora produced this wonderful report for us on Greece. She explained this rapidly changing situation, the development of the Greek asylum service. It was changing every day at that point, and yet she explained the law, the processes, it was all very clear. She explained the problems with the bureaucracy, and she explained the bureaucracy to us. And again, it was all done so efficiently and so promptly. We published her report, and it was wonderful to see her present it to European audiences in Brussels in 2018. And then we were fortunate to celebrate together. We had another wonderful meal, different cuisine this time, but a wonderful meal in Brussels. And I just really enjoyed getting to know her. I appreciated her company, her hard work, her camaraderie, her support. She was a wonderful colleague. And this is truly a tragedy. But I'd like to thank Dora's family and our colleagues for putting together this event so that we can really share these stories and celebrate her life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brad. Would Dora's brother like to say some words? I'm not sure whether you use your full name or you use a shortened version of it.
Excuse me, but I use my full name. It's a little long.
That's
fine. Dear all, we, Dora's family, are very thankful for this loving commemoration. It is very much alive in our memory how much it meant to her to pursue a PhD in Middlesex University, how excited she was when she was accepted, and how intensely she devoted herself to her research once she started her program. She cherished every moment in Middlesex. She was inspired by all her supervisors, Professors Ryan, Kaufman, Tsimuris, and Hadjiprokopiou. We remember how highly she spoke of you every time she came back home. She was humbled and motivated by the support, acceptance, and respect she received from all of you. The time she did her research was one of the happiest of her life. Whenever she came back home, she told us all the exciting new things she had discovered in her interviews. Later on, she would read to us from her thesis and explain all the new conclusions she drew in her research. With her work, she changed our views and broadened our horizons. You enriched her and our lives. You gave Dora one of the best times in her short life. We couldn't be more grateful. We thank you all.
Many, many thanks for that contribution. And we really appreciate the fact that Dora's family is here with us today. I think it adds so much to it. I think Panos, do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks also those who've already spoken about Dora and your words, Eleanor, for the initiative for this commemoration event. A sad occasion to see dear colleagues with whom it's been some times we have not been in touch. Eleanor, Grace, Alessio, Anastasia, Brad, Elena, Yorgos. The news of Dora passing away came as a shock to me, like everybody. Learning about this via email was one of those instances whereby I could not make sense of what I'm reading, and gradually realizing, and this does not sound right, this cannot be. I cannot imagine how shocking this may have been for those closest to her. I did not know Dora very well, but we shared some common friends from her university years in undergraduate years in Thessaloniki, colleagues and acquaintances. I did not know her that well, and others have spoken today about her academic and intellectual qualities. So I do not wish to add more on that, but only say I have learned quite a lot and been inspired from her thesis. I didn't know her too well, but have some very vivid and good memories of her, which are still with me. The crossing of our paths have been important for me. So I do not have that much to say, but would like to share some of these memories briefly, as a means of paying her homage and also as a list gesture to express my deepest condolences to those who have been close to her parents, partner, close friends, and colleagues. I still have in my memory our first acquaintance, then communication, then meeting to first discuss her ideas for a PhD and of the possibility of doing it in London. When Dora started at Middlesex and at SPRC, she perhaps unconsciously, unintentionally gave me a chance to be involved for the first time in my career in the supervision of a doctoral thesis as external advisor, and do so by keeping up, collaborating with dear colleagues. I remember meeting her on several occasions over these years of her working in her thesis, when visiting Greece for her fieldwork or for vacation, telling our news and discussing her thesis. Amongst these, my most vivid memory is of Dora smiling and having, we had a chat over a coffee at a roof terrace, very central Athens, overlooking landmarks of central Athens, and her face smiling in front of me. We've met in Athens and London. Our last encounter has been in Thessaloniki back in 2016. We kept in touch for another 2 years or so. Occasionally we'd talk on the phone. Last time was about 2.5 years ago in the summer of 2018. If I remember well, that was just a few days before she stopped working at the Arsis shelter in Alexandroupolis. And I recall her telling me about intending or wanting to go back to research, and she helped me back then, really valuably helped me with a project I was involved at the time. I remember her as a person who was kind and modest and compassionate and self-reflective, insightful, clever, interesting, cultivated, but also humane, down-to-earth, funny, and alive. And for all these three reasons and many more, Dora stays in my heart. I have no words to express my sadness, but I can say that I feel lucky our paths have crossed. My warmest condolences to her loved ones, parents, partner, and friends. And if time allows, I would like to repeat this in Greek for some of them, maybe. Τα νέα για το θάνατο της Δόρας ήταν για μένα ένα σοκ, όπως για τον καθένα και την καθεμιά. Ειδικά όπως το έμαθα μέσω email, και ήταν μια από αυτές τις στιγμές που δεν πιστεύεις αυτό που διαβάζεις, και όταν το συνειδητοποιείς σταδιακά σκέφτεσαι πως κάτι δεν κατάλαβε σωστά, κάτι δεν πάει καλά, δεν μπορεί να συνέβη. Δεν μπορώ να φανταστώ πώς μπορεί να ένιωσαν οι πρωτογονείς της, ο σύντροφός της. Δεν γνώριζα την Δώρα πάρα πολύ καλά. Είχαμε όμως κάποιους κοινούς φίλους, συναδέλφους γνωστούς, κοινούς φίλους από τα χρόνια της στο Πανεπιστήμιο Μακεδονίας. Δεν τη γνώριζα τόσο καλά. Άλλοι σήμερα μιλήσανε για την ποιότητα της δουλειάς της. Δεν έχω κάτι να προσθέσω περισσότερο για αυτήν, αλλά μπορώ να πω ότι έμαθα αρκετά από τη διατριβή της, παρακολουθώντας τη διατριβή της. Κάποια σημεία της, κάποιες σκέψεις και ιδέες της εκεί είχαν ιδιαίτερη έμπνευση για μένα. Δεν τη γνώριζα τη Δώρα τόσο καλά, αλλά έχω μερικές πολύ ζωντανές και πολύ όμορφες αναμνήσεις. Είναι ακόμα μαζί μου. Η διασταύρωση των διαδρομών μας, ας πούμε, ήταν για μένα σημαντική. Δεν έχω πάρα πολλά να πω. Ήθελα να μοιραστώ μερικές από αυτές τις αναμνήσεις, σαν ένα φόρο τιμή στη μνήμη της και σαν ένα ελάχιστο τρόπο να εκφράσω τα συλληπιτήριά μου στους δικούς της, στους ανθρώπους που ήταν κοντά στους γονείς, στους σύντροφό της, στους στενούς της φίλους. Θυμάμαι αρκετά καλά την πρώτη γνωριμία μας, μέσω κοινού γνωστού, που κουβεντιάσαμε τις ιδέες της για το διδακτορικό, την προοπτική να το κάνει στο Λονδίνο. Όταν ξεκίνησε η Δώρα στο Middlesex και το SPRC, μου έδωσε την ευκαιρία να συμμετέχω για πρώτη φορά στην επίβλεψη μιας διδακτορικής διατριβής και να το κάνω διατηρώντας και τη συνεργασία με συναδέλφους αγαπητούς, καθώς είχα περάσει και εγώ νωρίτερα από εκεί. Θυμάμαι αρκετές από τις συναντήσεις μας όλα τα χρόνια που πηγαίνω-ερχόταν μεταξύ Ελλάδας και Αγγλίας και μπορεί να περνούσα από την Αθήνα για την έρευνά της ή ερχόμενη για διακοπές, ας πούμε. συζητώντας τα νέα μας, κουβεντιάζοντας τη διατριβή της. Η πιο ζωηρή ανάμνηση από αυτές είναι τη Δώρα να χαμογελάει. Ενώ κουβεντιάζαμε σε ένα κτίριο, στην ταράτσα ενός κτιρίου στο Σύνταγμα, έτσι με τη Δώρα έτσι, να χαμογελάει και από πίσω πολύ καβιτό και έτσι, πολύ χαρακτηριστική. Τα είπαμε αρκετές φορές στην Αθήνα, μία φορά στο Λονδίνο. Η τελευταία μας συνάντηση ήταν στη Θεσσαλονίκη το 16, τον Ιούνιο. Είχαμε κάποια επικοινωνία ως τότε, περιστασιακά δηλαδή μιλούσαμε στο τηλέφωνο ή μέσω email. Τελευταία φορά που μιλήσαμε όμως έχει κάποιο καιρό, ήταν 2,5 χρόνια πριν, το καλοκαίρι του 18. Έχω την εντύπωση, αν θυμάμαι καλά, ότι ήταν λίγες μέρες πριν σταματήσει να εργάζεται στον ξενώνα της Άρης στην Αλεξανδρούπολη. Θυμάμαι να λέει ότι κάπου σκεφτόταν ή θα ήθελε να επιστρέψει τέλος πάντων στην έρευνα και με είχε βοηθήσει πολύ τότε με μια έρευνα που εγώ είχα μπλέξει εκείνη την περίοδο. Τη θυμάμαι ευγενική, συμπονετική, έξυπνη, αναστοχαστική σε σχέση με τη δουλειά της, ενδιαφέρουσα και καλλιεργημένη πάντα, ανθρώπινη, προσγειωμένη, αστεία, ζωντανή. Για αυτούς και πολλούς άλλους λόγους μένει στην καρδιά μου. Δεν έχω λόγια να εκφράσω τη λύπη μου, αλλά μπορώ να πω ότι νιώθω τυχερός που διαστραβεύτηκαν οι δρόμοι μας. Θερμά συλληπιτήρια στους αγαπημένους της, στους γονείς της, στον σύντροφό της, στους φίλους της. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Panos, and I'm glad we have some translations as well back into the Greek, because I really think it helps a lot. I think is our last speaker, I think Yorgos Timouris. Yorgos?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Eleanor. Thank you very much for organizing this. I would like, θα ήθελα να εκφράσω τα συλληπιτήριά μου στην οικογένειά της πρώτα. Είχα την τύχη να τους γνωρίσω, τους γονείς της, και σε όλους όσους την αγαπούσαν και την αγαπούσαμε. And then to say a few words about my contact with Dora. I have to say that I knew her for about 10 years, but all this period, our meetings were every 2 years or every 1 year or something like that. But let me start from 2010 that I received an email by Dora Papadopoulou. I didn't know who is she at that time, asking me to discuss her ideas for a PhD and possibly to act as her supervisor at Pantheon University. We agreed to meet in my office at Pantheon, and I remember very well this meeting because I was very much impressed by the way you described Dora here, by her kindness and her charm. And she explained me orally about her project, and we agreed to come back with a proposal and possibly to see her proposal once or twice before to submit it. And he actually did the proposal Pantheon. She was accepted very positively by the department. I found her proposal quite original, I would say, not quite original is the right word, because my work was also about Greco-Turkish relations, and I knew that mixed marriages from the past was a taboo in the Greek society, and while all of us that we were involved in this kind of research, we knew this, no body of us dare to go farther and to do a research on what happened in the Greek marriages. So the proposal accepted, Dora was happy, but after a certain time, she asked me to meet again and to discuss something that she wanted to discuss in person. She told me her ideas to study abroad, to go to Middlesex University and to go there with her PhD. And initially I said to her that, well, I cannot advise you. I cannot advise a promising student to go in another university. And there was a kind of sort embarrassment, but then I said to her, look, if you was my daughter and you would ask me the same question, it was 2011, I think. And if you was my daughter and you would ask me the same question, I would advise you to go there and to do a PhD in a strong language to expand your horizon and to be able to participate in more global environment, in more a global academic environment, and finally to be able to find a job because in Greece the things are not at all promising because from 2010 until 2017 nobody came in the Greek universities, as you probably know. I think that this was a very decisive step in our friendship and in our relation with Dora. She appreciated very much my open, this kind of encouragement. And we kept some contact since then. The next time that we met was in the occasion of summer school at Konitsa, where we were both invited to give a lecture. At that time, I received a message from Dora saying that she was happy that I would be there, and I was happy that she would be there actually. And as I come from Limnos, North Aegean island, and she would travel from Alexandroupolis with her parents, she, generous as she was, she offered to get me from Kavala, from the port of Kavala, to go together with her family to Konitsa, and her parents later would go around for holidays. At that time, I had the opportunity to know more her parents, her mother and her parents, and her father, and she treated me like being a member of her family. In summer school, we are more relaxed. We had the opportunity to catch up of what happened before. She was very happy. She told me many times she was very happy that she came in Middlesex. I started to listen the name of Eleanor Kaufman and her supervisors. And also she told me that she had to work too much, but she had a very supportive environment. We met another 2 times, if I remember well, on the occasion of the academic events. One of them was in Oxford, when I was presenting a paper regarding the rise of right wing in Greece. The last time I met Dora was November 2019 that I met also Eleanor Kaufman in this meeting of the seminar organized by Essex University. It was a follow-up of the project that we both got, different projects regarding to refugee crisis in the Mediterranean. It was another occasion in which our academic paths were crossed, and we got the opportunity to discuss, to have length discussions and to arrange a meeting next time in London and next day in London to have lunch together. Dora was happy at that time. She was very happy with her personal life, and she was planning actually to move from Alexandroupolis to Athens, because she regarded Athens as more motivating academic environment. And she actually asked me if I would agree to work together on her postdoctoral project. I remember that I answered to her that yes, I agree to work together. My pleasure actually, because when we were discussing with Dora, I was learning more from her than Dora was learning from me. And but I did a joke and I said, but this time you wouldn't go to work again with Eleanor Kaufman. And we laugh, we both laugh. So I was waiting this phone call. We agreed that when she comes in Athens, she will call me. And I was expecting this call until I received the email by Eleanor Kaufman informing me for her death. As many of you said, Dora was extremely polite and sensitive, like coming from another planet, where people were more kind, supportive, and nice to each other. Although our contact was rather limited, and despite our differences of age and gender, she had been a beloved and unique friend for me, and I miss her immensely. The emptiness that Anastasia spoke before, it's the proper word to describe my feelings. However, I know that for her parents particularly, but also for her partner, for the people with whom Dora was sharing her life, it will be more hard. So with them is my thoughts and my love these days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yorgos. So that, I think, if anybody else, they were the only people, I think, who, of those who've already spoken, who said that they want to speak. But if anybody else would like to say something, you're very, very welcome to add anything that you would, or say something. Whether it be in Greek or in English, because as you can hear, we've got we've got the appropriate interpreters on hand.
Παραθέτουμε μια ανοιχτή πρόσκληση σε οποιονδήποτε θα ήθελε να εκφράσει συναισθήματα, αναμνήσεις, σκέψεις σχετικά με την σχέση του, εμπειρία, την αγάπη που όλοι μας τρέφουμε για τη Δώρα. Παρακαλώ, έχετε το χρόνο να το κάνετε αυτό, είτε στα ελληνικά, είτε στα αγγλικά, σε οποιαδήποτε γλώσσα.
Να μιλήσουμε κι εμείς, αλλά... Άνοιξε, Γιώργο, άνοιξε. Άνοιξε. Μήπως θα ήθελαν κάποιοι να μιλήσουν και να κλείσουμε εμείς.
There is a question by Dora's father, Mr. Theodor Papadopoulos, if anybody would like to make an intervention, and then he will conclude. Παρακαλώ, κύριε Παπαδόπουλε, ολοκληρώστε εσείς. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Θερμά συλληπιτήρια στην οικογένειά σας. Η απώλεια είναι μέγιστη και συγκλονιστική.
Εκ μέρους της οικογένειας, ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ από καρδιάς. Με συγκίνησετε πάρα πολύ σήμερα. Για την τιμή που κάνατε για την Δώρα. Σας ευχαριστούμε για όλη τη βοήθεια, για όλη τη συνεργασία που είχατε μαζί της.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Δεν πρόλαβε να ολοκληρώσει τα όνειρά της. Κρίμα. Αναρωτιόμαστε καθημερινά γιατί. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Ευχαριστούμε, δεν έχουμε λόγια να σας εκφράσουμε τα συναισθήματά μας. Ευχαριστούμε.
Εμείς σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Να είσαστε καλά όλη η οικογένεια για να μπορέσετε να τρέφετε αυτές τις δυνατές και όμορφες χρωματιστές αναμνήσεις μιας πανέμορφης ψυχής, μιας σημαντικής προσωπικότητας, επιστημόνισσας, φίλης. Πρέπει να νιώθετε πολύ μεγάλο καμάρι και πολύ μεγάλη περηφάνεια. Η ανατροφή που δώσατε στη Δώρα ήταν εξαίρετη και διαμόρφωσε και τις εμπειρίες που είχαμε μαζί της. Δεν θα την ξεχάσουμε ποτέ. Να είστε καλά, να τη θυμόσαστε όλοι.
Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Να είστε καλά.
I would like to share on behalf of the family their immense gratitude for this commemorative event. They are obviously very much in traumatic pain, experiencing the loss of their daughter. They're still agonizing over the question of why this has occurred. They're extremely grateful for everybody's presence today, the love, the care, the compassion, the support that Dora wholeheartedly received from everybody. It's been an amazing journey today to remember an extraordinary friend, colleague, and companion in academia and life. Thank you, everybody, for your generosity of spirit and emotion. We're immensely grateful. We'll never forget Dora.
And can I say that neither will the rest of us. I think she very much lives on with us. And one of the things I was going to suggest, or two things I was going to suggest, was, her partner feels that, we said we'd talk about this, is to take her thesis and see what we can do with it. I've spoken to Brad about this as well, and he said he might be able to get somebody who could do the editing work on it, because there is editing to be done from a thesis into a book. So I think it's too emotional today, but maybe next week we can start to think about it, because I think it would be a fitting commemoration for her, the fact that she really had wanted to publish and that she's not been able to. And so I think what we could look at is to turn the thesis into a book, because all of us know a number of publishers, like Berghahn Press, which is very interested, Bristol University Press, as it's called. So we all know a few presses that would be I think, interested, and I think this is the least we could do in honor of Dora's memory and absolutely the quality of her work. So that's one of the things I would like to suggest, that maybe next week when it's calmed down a little bit more, that we could think about this, and that those who would like to contribute, you know, Louise, Anastasia, Panos, her partner, and Beata, also the other thing I was thinking is it might be possible to do something in, to do an extract in a publication as an article. I don't know if Beata's still here.
We can discuss. Discuss it well, perhaps next week or after.
Whenever you're free. Yes, yes.
It's a real good idea to keep her legacy and to make her work known by other people, students, researchers, and to keep her in this way.
Yeah, and it's also a way of keeping her memory and her presence alive. So could I say thank you again for everybody, and her family in particular, and my colleagues and my former colleagues and my current PhD students and her other friends who have attended. We had over 40 people registered at one point. I think it was 41. And just to say to everybody that it is recorded, and we're just trying to work out, there are different means of storing a recording, and we're trying to work out, at the moment it will be stored on my Zoom, but we want to work out how to store it somewhere else that we can circulate to everybody who is present, and that you can continue circulating it beyond everybody who was present. So Anastasia, would you like to maybe explain to her family what we're saying?
Θα θέλαμε να ολοκληρώσουμε αυτή το μνημόσυνο και την αφιέρωση στη ζωή και στη διαδρομή την επιστημονική της Δόρας, η οποία είναι μέγιστη στο χώρο των κοινωνικών επιστημών, με τις σκέψεις μας για την μελλοντική αξιοποίηση της δουλειάς της. Από εβδομάδα θα συναντηθούμε για να συζητήσουμε τρόπους και πώς θα προσεγγίσουμε εκδοτικούς οίκους, ώστε να δημοσιεύσουμε το έργο της Δόρας, να δημοσιευθεί σε ένα εξαιρετικό και υψηλού κύρους επιστημονικό χώρο και εκδοτικό οίκο, και να μπορέσουμε επίσης και συγγραφικά να εκδώσουμε κάποιο αφιέρωμα για τη Δώρα, για την επιστημονική της συμβολή στο χώρο. Θα κρατήσουμε ενήμερη την οικογένεια και τους φίλους με τα επόμενα βήματα, καθώς επίσης και για την αρχαιοθέτηση και την κατάθεση αυτής της ηχογράφησης, πώς θα την επεξεργαστούμε, ώστε να έχετε κι εσείς πρόσβαση και να μπορέσετε να την, επίσης να την μεταθέσετε και να τη δώσετε και σε άλλους. Θα είμαστε σε επικοινωνία. Ήταν μια εξαιρετική, ένα εξαιρετικό ταξίδι στη μνήμη, στη ζωή, το πόσο μας έχει αγγίξει η Δώρα σε τόσα πολλά επίπεδα. Είμαστε συγκλονισμένοι συλλογικά και χρειαζόμαστε λίγες μέρες για να μπορέσουμε να το αντιμετωπίσουμε, αυτό το συναισθηματικό φορτίο. Από εβδομάδα θα μεταβούμε στα επόμενα βήματα, στη διοργάνωση του επιστημονικού έργου προς δημοσίευση, και θα σας κρατήσουμε ενήμερους για το πώς θα ολοκληρωθεί αυτή η διαδικασία. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ που είσαστε εδώ μαζί μας, η οικογένεια της Δόρας, οι συνάδελφοι. Είναι πολύτιμο το δώρο αυτό. Το όνομα της Δόρας είναι το δώρο σε εμάς. Ένα μέγιστο δώρο συνεισφοράς, αγάπης, φιλίας, φροντίδας και ένα μεγάλο παράδειγμα προς μνήμηση. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ.
Και εμείς ευχαριστούμε. Ευχαριστούμε ιδιαίτερα την κυρία Έλενορ και την κυρία Λουίς, τον κύριο Τσιμουρή, τους οποίους γνωρίσαμε και εκτιμούμε ιδιαίτερα, όπως και η Δώρα, και όλους τους υπόλοιπους. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Να είστε καλά.
Δεν έχουμε λόγια να εκφράσουμε τις ευχαριστήσεις μας. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ.
Dora's parents are enormously
Να
grateful.
είστε καλά.
They want to express extensive appreciation and gratitude to Eleanor, to Louise, to Yorgos, to Panos, to all the colleagues and friends who are here present. They like to underscore how touched, how moved, how enormously grateful they are for this occasion. They have no words to describe their gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ευχαριστούμε, ευχαριστούμε. Καλό βράδυ.
Καλό βράδυ.
Καλό κουράγιο και εσάς, καλό βράδυ.
Καλό κουράγιο.
Κουράγιο.
Ευχαριστούμε, ευχαριστούμε.
Thank you, Eleanor.
And thank you everybody present. And as I say, we'll have to, I'm not the great technician, but we've been talking already about what's the best way of storing the Zoom and making it available. And there are different ways. That's why I want to think about what's the best way. And we'll, as soon as we get the link, we will send it to everyone who attended, because the Zoom takes a list of who's there. And also we will maybe next week with Yorgos and the others, and Anastasia and Panos and Louise, we can think about publishing possibilities to turn the thesis into a book. And Beata I'll also have a word with her about what we can do in terms of maybe doing an article and within a wider context. Yeah. So thank you everybody again. And I think it is very supportive, sharing our memories.
Please. Thank you, Eleanor, for the initiative.
Okay.
Thank you, Eleanor. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thanks to everyone being here today.
And we can maybe, Yorgos, we can maybe Zoom now that we're on Zoom. We know how to get hold of each other, so we can Zoom. Okay.
Παναγιώτης, μήπως θες να πεις κάτι?